Welcome, wayward travelers, to the Scarlet Tavern, where stories are told in candlelight and truth is chased like spirits in a bottle. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. A gruesome rhyme passed down like a sinister lullaby, one that has echoed through playgrounds, classrooms, and dark corners of American folklore for over a century. But behind the sing-song cadence lives a very real, ruthless double murder that stunned a quiet New England town in the summer of 1892. Andrew and Abby Borden were found hacked to death inside their locked Fall River home, one bludgeoned while lying on the parlor couch, the other left face down in a pool of blood upstairs. No sign of forced entry, no eyewitnesses, and one name that would forever divide public opinion: Lizzie Borden. In today's episode, we're peeling back the wallpaper of history to reveal the fractures underneath. Family tensions, whispered motives, and unanswered questions. We'll walk through the events of the sweltering August morning, dissect the strange behavior that followed, and examine the trial that turned Lizzie into a media sensation and a lasting mystery. Was she the axe-wielding killer history remembers? Or was she the perfect scapegoat for a crime with darker roots? Stay with us as we sharpen the edges of one of America's most enduring murder legends. This is Scarlet Tavern.
Blink.
Hello everybody. If you are watching this, you will see a new face. Elliot is going to be joining us from now on at the Scarlet Tavern. Things have changed. We have restructured the company and the way that we do everything, and including our gaming side, which was Dungeons and Magi, is now Best Damn Game Night. Instead of D&D, we play games, things like that. You can go see that. As of this recording, it will come out tomorrow on YouTube of us playing Windrose.
Wednesday. This comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, as of this recording.
Oh, yeah.
When they hear this, it will be tomorrow.
You're Elliot and Gladys.
Yes.
Yes, hello. It's good to be here.
We are back. I know our intro and everything is different without the tavern music, things like that. I am actually working on writing intro songs, so hopefully we'll have that by next week. And I just got to do some tweaks and stuff like that. But from what you'll see here, we have new things, new frames, new background, stuff like that. So we appreciate everybody allowing us to take a break. We were taking a break on the D&D side. We originally weren't going to take a break on this side, and we decided that we were just going to do a hard stop, do a reset, and just give ourselves a nice long break to kind of redo everything and get back into the mindset that we need, as we had people leave the company. And with that, we wish them the best of luck. It may or may not have been the cleanest breakaway, but we wish them the best, and we just needed time to restructure and refocus and figure out what we were doing, and this is how we're doing it. You'll see that you can probably tell by Ben's background that we're not in the same place that we were. Same house, but we have moved into our offices, things like that. So
I just go where I'm told.
Big change, and you'll see stuff change more as things happen. This release time may change. We're not sure. It all depends on when we can do recordings, things like that. So,
and I restructured all of the schedule, so we won't have to miss a single episode.
Yes.
Planned for this year.
So coming back, we had ended with the nerdy ones and talking about that stuff. Coming back to Lizzie Borden, we will have some nerdy ones later. I know people like those. We will have that done. And talking about more D&D stuff, things like that. So, yeah. With that being said, with Elliot being newer here, Elliot, I will basically read it. We talk about it. You can chime in, give your opinion. Obviously, we have the opinion of former law enforcement, both military and civilian side, but it'd be nice to have a civilian perspective. And yeah, so, and then with this specifically, Lizzie Borden. Yeah, New England, not too far from Elliot's stomping ground when we look at it. So Elliot being from the northeast of the United States. So yeah, let's get into it. So Lizzie Andrew Borden was probably the start of the problems with naming your daughter in 1860 with a middle name Andrew.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind. That may seem normal today, but 1860.
I don't know any females with male names.
There's not
And that's
stereotypical male, but there are unisex ones that lead more,
Yeah.
that are more typically male-esque.
there's
I have
Yeah.
a very feminine middle name, so
Andrew is about as masculine as you can get.
Yeah.
There's really not much
Well,
room in there.
Considering that she was born on July 19th, 1860, and was the daughter of Andrew
second
and
daughter.
Sarah Borden. Yes. Her early life was shaped by loss. When Lizzie was just 2 years old, her mother Sarah died of uterine congestion and spinal disease.
So it said uterine congestion. It's not specified what it exactly was. It could have been a multitude of things.
It was more than likely a fever from a UTI. Especially in the 1800s, it was very common. UTIs happen a lot. And back then, they did not know how to treat UTIs, and you can get a fever. And without access to the medicine that we have, you would die. So, that grief, formless and silent, would haunt the foundation of the Borden household for decades. Her older sister, Emma, took on a motherly role, becoming fiercely protective of Lizzie. And within just a few years, a new woman emerged. Abby Virgie Gray married Andrew Borden in 1865, stepping into a house still echoing with Sarah's absence. Although she tried to bring stability, she was never entirely accepted. Lizzie never accepted her. Over time, that distance hardened into quiet hostility. Lizzie refused to call her mother, choosing instead the formal cold Mrs. Borden. A rejection that said more than any outburst ever could. Outsiders viewed the Borden household as upright and God-fearing, but behind the lace curtains of 92 2nd Street, a different story unfolded. There was no warmth in the home, only routine, stiff, repetitive, and joyless. Meals were taken in silence. The conversation served a practical purpose rather than reflecting familial relationships. Lizzie and Emma often avoided being in the same room as Abby, and at times even with their father. Andrew Jackson Borden, the patriarch, was a man of means, but not a generous one. Despite his wealth, earned from furniture manufacturing, real estate, and textiles, he insisted the family lives frugally. There were no modern conveniences in the home, no gas lighting, no indoor plumbing. Even the maid, Bridget Sullivan, was expected to haul up hot water for baths. Bridget, young, Irish, and stuck, occupied a peculiar position in the home. She wasn't family, yet she knew the house's rhythms and resentments better than anyone. She cleaned, she served, she kept her head down, but she could feel the tension crackling just under the surface. She noticed the abrupt words, sensed the distance, and faced subtle mistreatment. It was her job to endure it, and so she did. In the months leading up to the murders, tensions sharpened. Rumors circulated that Andrew had transferred a piece of property to Abby's half-sister, an act Lizzie and Emma viewed as betrayal. The sisters were outraged, convinced their inheritance was being chipped away behind closed doors. In response, both women left town. Emma fled to Fairhaven. Lizzie, instead of returning home immediately, took up residence at a boarding house for several days. Even after coming back to 2nd Street, the coldness hadn't thawed. Then came the pigeons. Yes, you heard that right. Lizzie began looking after a flock in the barn loft, which became her main activity, according to some accounts. One day, Andrew took an axe to them, claimed they were attracting neighborhood boys and were a nuisance. To Lizzie, it was devastating, a small act of cruelty that felt deeply personal.
But
Hmm.
So what were you saying?
what I was saying is that this was just, as I said, just doubly cruel because this was really Lizzie's only hobby. She didn't have any real hobbies that she had, mostly because Andrew wouldn't foot the bill for anything.
Yeah.
So this was just a. I mean, by all accounts, Andrew was just, like you said, not a very nice person. He was just mean spirited, frugal, cheap. No one was really surprised when he died.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to be a sick bastard to mistreat an animal like that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'd just like to know how the hell he was able to get a bunch of pigeons and kill them with a hatchet. I mean,
Well, there's really not like, yes, it's it's not known if it was actually true or not. There are some speculations that it wasn't.
Keep in mind, we're hearing this from Lizzie Borden's mouth,
Yeah.
Lizzie and Emma. This is who we're.
a murderer.
Yeah,
So,
we're hearing this from two people that aren't necessarily reliable. That this
Yeah.
is why it happened. But were they truly abusive? We'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
so, by early August, the household was unraveling. Everyone in the house had fallen ill, nausea, vomiting, fatigue. Abby suspected poison, perhaps from a disgruntled associate of her husband, or worse, someone inside the home. A doctor was summoned. His conclusion? Boiled mutton stew. A simple explanation, but one that did little to calm growing fears, especially when, just a day before the murders, Lizzie was seen attempting to purchase prussic acid, one of the deadliest poisons known at the time. It didn't help that Lizzie had also confided in a friend that she feared someone might try to kill her father. When questioned, she mentioned a mysterious note that had supposedly summoned Abby away from the home that morning, yet no such note was ever found. It all paints a picture not just of dysfunction, but of a home slowly folding in on itself. Bitterness simmered behind every closed door. Distrust seeped into every conversation. Inheritance, status, and resentment were all there, building pressure like steam in a sealed kettle. And then, on the morning of August 4th, 1892, the kettle finally boiled over. The members of the separated family became quiet, one by one. The blood would dry. Questions? Those would never leave the house. The Borden house was already thick with tension long before blood soaked its floorboards. But no one, not even the most suspicious neighbor, could have predicted how violently that tension would erupt on the morning of August 4th, 1892. It was a stiffingly hot Thursday, the kind of heat that clings to your skin and seeps into your bones. The windows of 92 2nd Street were mainly shut, as they often were, not to keep the heat out, but to keep the world at bay. Inside, the day started as most did. Breakfast was served around 7 a.m. Cold mutton, leftover bread, and weak coffee. Abby and Andrew sat down for the meal, but Lizzie reportedly ate very little, if anything. Emma was still away in Fairhaven. Bridget, the maid, prepared the meal silently but was inwardly resentful. She had been asked, perhaps ordered, to wash the outside windows that day. It wasn't just hot, it was oppressive. The air was still, the kind of stillness that made time feel heavy.
So for those that don't know what mutton is, it is adult lamb meat.
Sheep.
Sheep.
Lamb, yeah, adult lamb is a sheep.
I've never had one.
That's good.
Neither have I.
Me either.
It's good.
Well, I wouldn't expect you to have it, Elliot.
Well, I grew up eating meat, so I could have.
I mean, it's really not something that's. I mean, you can still find it, I guess, but
Yeah.
steak's better. Oh, but in the Borden household, that's too expensive. We can't have that. Which, I mean, even if you look at that meal, that's just like, good God, you would think that Andrew Borden was like a poor pauper dude, just very clinging to it.
Mutton stew is very much a poor family meal.
Yeah.
Because sheep were everywhere. Everybody had sheep.
Which is always struck me as odd because the Bordens weren't like Andrew Borden was a successful businessman, but he didn't come from humble beginnings. If I remember,
No, he inherited some money too.
Yeah, like he wasn't obviously Rockefeller rich, but it's like,
I mean, they were in today's day, they'd be millionaires still.
yeah, I mean, like not like hundreds of millions, but
No,
it's
they'd be living decently in
it's
L.A.
It's like, dude, you could afford a steak or a cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time of his death in 1892, Andrew Borden was a very wealthy, self-made man with a net worth estimated around $300,000, which equivalent to roughly $9 million to $10.8 million in today's money.
Yeah, he could definitely afford
$300,000 in
Yeah.
1890 goes very far.
Exactly.
He was a prominent director of several textile mills, president of the Union Savings Bank, and a significant property owner in Fall River, Massachusetts.
Yeah. So, by 8:45 a.m., Andrew Borden had left for his usual morning routine, walking to the post office, then to the bank. He was a man of habits, and those errands were a daily ritual, one that allowed him to show his face in the community, even if he wasn't particularly liked. That left 3 women in the house: Bridget, tasked with chores, Abby, who went upstairs to the guest bedroom to straighten up, and Lizzie, who moved about the home with cool detachment. The period between 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. is marked by a notable lack of activity, with a few witnesses present and limited clarity regarding the timeline of events. It's during this window that Abby Borden met her brutal end. She was found later collapsed on the floor between the bed and the wall of the second-floor guest room. Her body had fallen face down, her hands clutching the carpet, her dress soaked in blood. She had been struck multiple times in the back of the head, somewhere between 18 and 19 blows, each one splitting the flesh and cracking bone. The first wound had severed her spinal cord at the base of her skull, likely killing her instantly. The rest were overkill, a storm of violence inflicted long after death had already silenced her. There was no sign of struggle, no screams were heard. The house absorbed her murder like it had absorbed decades of family friction, quietly behind closed doors. And now it's very key to note that they believe that the first blow, and keep in mind this is the 1890s. It's evidence like fingerprints, things like that didn't exist.
Or were so brand new they were just
Yeah. So even looking at like splash patterns of blood, things like that, those were all very early, if ever around. So
I guarantee you that it was, if there was, it was not in Fall River, Massachusetts.
yeah, so
it was a crap hole now, it was a crap hole then.
yeah, so the first wound, severing her spinal cord, killing her. The key thing here is the other 18 or 19 blows, or 17 or 18 blows. That, we said it's overkill. What that does is that shows that there's passion there. It wasn't somebody broke in to steal something, freaked out, killed her, and then left. This was somebody who felt something ill towards this person, and once they killed them, they just couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And that is a key point that goes into why they suspect, one of the reasons that they suspect Lizzie.
Because you'll find out later why.
Yeah.
Lizzie was very much suspected.
So,
even if it was burglary, I mean, the body position is just all wrong. She's face down and everything. She just never saw it coming. Which, again, if you're breaking in, it's not the first time a burglar has ever killed somebody in the process of a burglary. Even back then, and it gets messy. You know, burglar breaks in. He's got a crowbar, thinking he's going to pry open some cabinets and steal some jewelry. He walks in on what's supposed to be an empty room. He swings, panics. He does that. And if she walked in on him, by all accounts, from there, never saw it coming. So,
yeah,
kind of in my opinion, it kind of dispels the whole someone from the outside came in.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Bridget continued her chores. She washed the windows, cursing the heat and the stubborn grime, until finally retreating upstairs to rest. As she climbed the narrow servant staircase, she later recalled hearing a soft, faint laugh, muffled, coming from the upper level. She assumed it was Lizzie. Shortly before 10:45 a.m., Andrew returned home. He had forgotten his key and the front door was locked. Bridget let him in, though she struggled with the bolt, another thing that struck her as odd. Inside, the air was strangely calm. Abby was nowhere to be seen, and Lizzie, now more present, mentioned that her stepmother had received a note and gone out to visit a sick friend. It was the first of several stories Lizzie would tell that day. Andrew, perhaps tired from the heat or lulled by routine, settled onto the horsehair sofa in the front parlor. He lay back, removed his boots, and shut his eyes.
I remember right, that same sofa is still at
the house.
It is. It is.
Wow.
You can still see the bloodstains on it. Sometime around 11 a.m., he too was attacked. He never stood a chance. The killer approached as he lay resting, vulnerable and unaware. Hatchet or a similar weapon was brought down with incredible force, 10, perhaps 11 times. Most of the blows were concentrated on his face and head, obliterating his features. One blow split his eye cleanly in two. Another sliced through his cheek and nose. Blood soaked the cushion, dripped down the side of the sofa, and pooled on the ornate rug beneath his feet. It was not the frenzied flailing of an amateur. It was controlled, precise, personal. At 11:10 a.m., Lizzie called out to Bridget, her voice steady and calm. "Maggie, come quick. Father's dead. Somebody came in and killed him." Keep in mind that Bridget Sullivan's nickname in the house was Maggie. That's why she called her Maggie.
Never explained why.
It probably has something to do with her being Irish. Sure.
I'm sure Bridget appreciated that.
Yeah, it probably was a slur. Because, yeah. The Irish were so well loved in New England in the 1800s.
Actually, the upper crust society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which is always just strikes me that it's like, was there society in Fall River? That's kind of
yeah,
weird.
keep in mind that the Irish were the first slaves ever in history, as far as we can tell,
in America.
in America. Yeah. So the Irish were sold into slavery in America. So the Borden house, already steeped in discomfort and resentment, was not steeped in blood. Bridget rushed down the stairs to find Lizzie standing near the back of the house. No screams, no tears, just calm urgency. Lizzie set her to fetch Dr. Bowen and summoned help. Neighbors were called. Police would have arrived soon. But first, there was this question. Where was Abby?
I think it was the Borden house already steeped in discomfort and resentment was now steeped in blood. I did a mistype.
That's on me. I thought
That's fault.
yeah, that's me. I must have missed it.
This is probably the ones he just skimmed over. At first, Lizzie insisted she had gone out. But when a neighbor ascended the stairs and reached the landing, the truth emerged in the stillness. Through the banister railing, they could see the guest room. Abby's body was there, face down on the floor in a thick halo of congealed blood. 2 murders, 2 mutilated bodies, no screams, no signs of forced entry, no obvious suspects. Just a maid, a daughter, and a mounting list of questions. But as the blood dried and the funerals passed, Fall River's whispers turned into declarations. Grief gave way to speculation, and speculation gave way to scrutiny. Behind every closed door, people were talking, not just about the gruesome nature of the murders, but about the one woman who seemed to be at the center of it all. Lizzie Borden was no longer just the daughter of the victims. She was becoming something else entirely, a suspect. And so began a new chapter in the story, one where courtroom drama, media frenzy, and a trial unlike any other would pull this quiet New England town into the national spotlight.
Keep in mind, especially during this time frame, they weren't taken to like a hospital, a police station, or anything like that. They were put on the dining room table in the house.
Mm.
And that
It's a small town.
Fall River is very much, I mean, Fall River is much larger today. It's still no Boston, but it is still very much a much smaller place than it is today. And even back then, Fall River didn't have the best reputation in terms of law enforcement experience and everything. So
the crime scene was very much, and nowadays, very much contaminated.
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. This
Mhm.
is like, from what I understood, there was no even an attempt to try and preserve everything.
Yeah. As the initial shock of the murders settled over Fall River, a quiet transformation began. Public mourning gave way to quiet curiosity, polite and poised, but increasingly scrutinized under a microscope held by the community, the media, and eventually the law. Almost immediately, inconsistencies in Lizzie's statement began to raise eyebrows. Her timeline of the morning was hazy. First, she claimed to be in the kitchen. Then she said she was in the barn. Her story shifted when asked again. She couldn't recall hearing any screams. She didn't see anything out of the ordinary. It was as though the brutal double homicide of her father and stepmother had taken place in a vacuum, one in which Lizzie herself simply floated detached and unharmed. The contradictions didn't escape the investigators' attention, nor did Lizzie's strangely calm demeanor in the days following the murders. The townspeople expected shock, grief, something visceral. But Lizzie remained oddly composed, if not downright cold. She wore black, accepted visitors, and gave interviews, but her behavior was off. She burned a dress in the kitchen fireplace just days after the murders, claiming it was stained with paint. To investigators, it might as well have been blood. When police searched the Borden home, they found a hatchet in the basement, its handle suspiciously broken and missing. Though forensic science was still in its infancy and local authorities did not embrace fingerprinting, The possibility that it was the murder weapon loomed large. However, without bloodstains and with no witness, the case was still built on speculation rather than science.
Yeah, so things, but it was mainly only fingerprinting that was brand new in the U.S. in 1892.
Yeah.
And as we just said, it was not embraced by Fall River.
Yeah. Despite the lack of physical evidence, Lizzie was formally arrested on August 11th, 1892. It sent a ripple through Fall River. Some were stunned, while others were smug in their belief that justice was finally beginning to take place. Lizzie maintained her innocence, and her family rallied around her. Her sister Emma returned and stood loyally by her side. The Borden family's wealth enabled them to hire a team of top-notch attorneys, including George D. Robinson, a former governor of Massachusetts.
This is about the equivalent of hiring Johnny Cochran.
Yeah, for a lot of good that would do. The preliminary hearing was intense. Lizzie sat rigid, occasionally fanning herself as witnesses recounted the details. The blue dress that was destroyed, the attempted purchase of prussic acid, the calm demeanor, the lack of grief. The magistrates were convinced that there was enough to bring her to trial. The news spread quickly across the nation, igniting headlines and fueling the growing fascination with the Borden case. By the time the trial began in June 1893, it had become a media spectacle. Reporters crowded the courtroom benches, sketching her face for the front page. Debates swirled not only around her innocence or guilt, but around womanhood, class, and morality. How could a woman, a church-going, Sunday school teaching, well-to-do spinster have committed such savagery? The prosecution laid out its case with deliberate precision, painting Lizzie as a resentful daughter driven to murder by property disputes and long simmering domestic tension. The defense countered with a portrait of a dutiful, God-fearing woman being unfairly maligned. They pointed out the lack of direct evidence, the absence of blood on her person, and the impossibility of such violence being done by someone without leaving a trace. But the trial was about more than evidence. It was about perception. Lizzie's stoicism, once viewed as suspicious, began to win her sympathy in the courtroom. The all-male jury, none of whom would have imagined a woman committing such brutality, found her increasingly difficult to condemn. Her defense team leaned into those ideals, invoking femininity, morality, and social respectability.
And keep in mind, when this happened, she was 32 and never married.
Yeah. She also wasn't the best looking.
Hard to tell, but I mean, I don't know. Now, this is what I always found interesting. Prosthetic, and I'm really shocked the prosecution didn't press this, at least not as much. Prussic acid Prussic acid has only really used at the time it was used for whaling, which is big in New England, which is probably why she was able to get it. And it's also used in the manufacture of plastics, synthetic rubbers, and fumigation. There's realistically no reason why anybody outside of like someone who works in whaling or manufacturing should even be trying to purchase this, let alone like you said, a 32-year-old spinster who doesn't do anything like that. I mean, I kind of feel like this was her original plan and she just got caught trying to buy something that raised way too many red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so you know, prussic acid does, it is basically hydrogen cyanide.
Yeah. It's also not a slow death. I mean, it's not a slow
It causes asphyxiation. It binds
Oh,
to the
wow.
it binds to the red blood cells and chokes them out.
Yeah, I mean, if her father and stepmother had taken this, it would have been a pretty quick but violent and painful death. It would have been like that. It would not have been a pretty death. If this was her intent, she wanted them to suffer.
Yeah.
This is not like, even regular cyanide will kill you fairly quickly, and I mean, I don't know if it's relatively painless, but you know, it's a hell of a lot better than what this stuff would have done.
I mean,
Yeah,
cyanide. Cyanide poisoning. The first thing, it causes dizziness. You feel like you have vertigo, and then basically it just like this. It slowly suffocates you. I got we had at my last job we had a cyanide leak. And you could smell it, and even far away from it, you would feel dizzy.
So this was definitely a crime that she was very angry. She hated these people.
She hated her father.
Yes, she did.
Oh yeah.
Her father was giving land to somebody who
Yeah.
is
Family.
not family.
Yeah.
Her hating her stepmother.
And
And
then
then because her stepmother never got really told no,
Yeah.
Lizzie started resenting her father.
Yeah, so
Because I
there's
think her stepmother was fairly young. She wasn't.
she was. There's also reports that he was frugal with everybody but the stepmother.
Mm,
And with the stepmother, he would spend money. And that kind of pissed everybody off. Like, we can't have a fucking working toilet, but she can go buy $100 dresses.
yeah.
So it was kind of, yeah. After a month of testimony, the jury deliberated for just 90 minutes. 90 minutes, that's it. Lizzie Borden was acquitted. She sobbed, finally, tears. However, outside the courtroom, those tears did little to erase the stain of suspicion. She may have walked free, but in Fall River and the public imagination, her trail was just about to begin. After the courtroom cleared and the gavel sounded, Lizzie Borden walked into the daylight as a free woman. But it wasn't vindication that greeted her. It was infamy. Acquittal had cleared her name in the eyes of the law, but in the court of public opinion, which sometimes matters more, the verdict was far less unanimous. Whispers clung to her like a shadow. The rhyme, once a cruel playground chant, became folklore. And though the case had been closed, the questions never were. Because if Lizzie didn't do it, who did? And if she did, how did she get away with it? Now, over a century later, the mystery endures. Theories have multiplied, legends have evolved, and Lizzie Borden remains one of the most haunting figures in American crime lore.
Now I think we're getting to the part where I think most people have the most fun with this story.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's a bunch. I did a few of the theories. There's hundreds.
You know who would have caught her?
Sherlock Holmes.
The Scooby-Doo gang.
Yes.
yeah.
They would have caught her. Scooby would have done it.
Well, what about the Winchesters? Would they have even bothered?
They actually faced Lizzie Borden in the show.
Really?
The ghost of Lizzie Borden, yeah.
Yeah. That's one of those things where if I was the Winchesters and I had Lizzie Borden's ghost, I'd be like, okay, before I send you to the
What
afterlife,
happened? Tell me what happened. Yeah.
Season 11.
Yeah, they faced the ghost of Lizzie Borden. Yeah. It's one of my favorite episodes.
I've
You
never
guys
watched
haven't gone-
Supernatural.
You need to. It's so good. I've seen it 17
I've seen
times.
clips.
I've seen it 17 times.
Ooh.
I watched every time a new season came out, I rewatched all of it. And then we started watching it and then stopped, but we need to
There was
continue.
reasons why we stopped.
But yeah, so
I got 2 chicken shit.
yeah.
we weren't going to say it.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody here knows that I'm terrified of like the supernatural and shit. So it's
Anyone
not a
have a
surprise.
Furby on the desk?
I will burn this house down. Oh,
All right. So the trial may have ended with an acquittal, but the mystery of the Borden murders has endured, transforming into a cultural phenomenon that continues to invite speculation, scholarship, and storytelling. Historians, criminologists, writers, and amateur sleuths alike have spent over a century combing through testimonies, documents, and social attitudes in search of answers. The result? A tapestry of conflicting theories, some grounded in evidence, others stretching the limits of possibility. So let's go through those. Some of them. The psychological profile. Could Lizzie have done it?
Sure.
Modern forensic psychology has been applied to the case in retrospect. If Lizzie did kill her parents, what would drive a 32-year-old Sunday school teacher and pillar of Christian morality to such an act of brutality? Because historically, Christians have never committed brutality, says the Christian Crusades.
That's a little different, but
It's
at the
still-
same time, but you're not wrong.
They still killed in the name of God.
A lot.
Yeah. Some psychologists speculate she may have suffered from a dissociative state break from reality, triggered by years of repression, familial conflict, or unacknowledged trauma. Others have floated the possibility of a personality disorder, pointing to her reportedly erratic behavior during questioning and inconsistencies in her story. A few have even suggested Munchausen syndrome by proxy, not in the literal sense, but as a comparison, a woman trapped in a dependent role who sees control in the only way she could fathom, violently.
So this is where the theory of her and Emma were severely abused, not just by Andrew, but also by the stepmother.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I wondered if that had anything to do with it, because
Both, and the speculation is both sexual and physical.
the problem is we have no evidence. Lizzie never said she was
Yeah.
abused.
Yeah.
I mean,
She-
granted, she would never have admitted.
No,
that.
but I mean, we have no evidence. I think people bringing up abuse just they're using it as an excuse. Now, my belief is that she may have had schizophrenia.
Mhm.
Because remember, this is the 1890s. That schizophrenia wasn't it existed, but it wasn't documented. She also could have had a multiple personality disorder. It's very likely the fact that she would have, she very well could have not known any of this happened if she had multiple personality disorder. The fact that she was so stoic through everything means that maybe Lizzie Borden didn't do it. Maybe a different personality did it. And she flipped, killed them, flipped back to regress. Because typically, if anyone's never seen the movie Split,
Yeah.
I suggest watching it. It's technically a horror. I feel it's more thriller.
Seen clips, no.
But that man does such an amazing job.
James McAvoy.
Yes, James McAvoy played 13 or 14 different personalities, all seemingly different. Never won a fucking award for the movie, by the way.
That's bullshit.
Which is insane because it was crazy. But and then there's a sequel to it, like Shattered Glass or something like that. But great movie. It's a man with split personalities that's kidnapping people, and then one of the personalities is trying to save the people that he's kidnapped. Great thing. And so I believe it's highly possible that she could have had some type of split personality.
And because her father didn't want to spend the money and
I mean,
all of that.
there wouldn't have been
Nobody
anything
would have
they
been
could
able to
have done.
diagnose that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, just it would have looked poorly upon the family.
Oh, absolutely.
They would have just locked her in a fucking basement.
Yeah, I was gonna say they would have locked her in an outhouse and left her.
They would have kept her in that barn with those fucking pigeons.
Those are all. Mental illness is certainly a possibility. I mean, I'm a little bit more simple about this. I don't think she was nuts. I mean, first of all, I'm just spoiler. I think she did it.
You don't think the woman that brutally killed her family was nuts?
Not in the way that we think it. Not in the sense of like she's hearing voices or a split personality. I mean, she's definitely sick in the head to be like, I hate my stepmother. I hate my dad. Why do I solve these problems? Hey, I got it. In that sense, yeah, she's pretty bent in the head, but I don't think there's any like a disease or a syndrome that's doing it. I think she just got a slow simmering tension. I mean, look back at what they said. Like, how does a Sunday school teacher raised in a fairly rigid Christian household do this? Slowly. Years and years. First of all, daddy's daddy remarried, didn't want to remarry. Probably me. I wouldn't be surprised if the turnaround from mom dying, her mother dying, and Abby being married was fairly quickly, even by their standards.
So
It's about
keep
5
in mind-
years.
Died at Lizzie,
It was a little less than that because Lizzie was born in 1890, and then he got remarried in 1895, and her mother died, I believe, when she was like 2.
yes, she was 2 years old. So
So it was 3 years after her mother died.
So, I don't think. I mean, it is entirely possible that maybe Lizzie was a little bit of a psychopath in the sense of that she just doesn't care. But I think it would have been, to use it might not be the right vernacular term, but this might be, she may have been like a low grade psycho where she's not quite. If she's not there, you wouldn't know her. Talk to her.
okay, so
I think
was actually not a big age difference between Andrew and Abby. It was 5 years.
Yeah, I think she's more sociopath than psychopath.
It definitely probably leans more to that.
Difference being sociopaths can develop relationships.
Yes.
Where psychopaths can't.
Because she definitely had a very close relationship with her sister, Emma.
And seemingly Maggie.
Yeah.
Well, and it's important to think sociopaths, a lot of the time, that is a response to trauma, so that would tie into them being abused, if that was the case.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, but I don't think, this is just my opinion, I don't think there's like a schizophrenia or a split personality you can tie to Lizzie. I think she just, a long simmering, I don't like these people, I don't like them, I can't go out and do stuff, I can't live the life that I want to live. I mean, I'm sure, again, a lot of people always tried to say that she wanted this rich, extravagant lifestyle, and her father and stepmother were in the way, and that's why she killed them. I think she just, probably a lot of things just kept factoring. She's being told to do your duty as a good, dutiful daughter to your father, blah, 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 and it's just building and building until finally one day she realized, my life would be infinitesimally better if these two motherfuckers were dead. So what does she do? She starts trying to get poisoned. She starts probably figuring out little subtle ways to kill him. It's not working. It's starting to draw suspicion. And then she decides, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You know what? And all those just spill out.
Well, I honestly think it's a mixture of mental illness and the snapping, because there are documentations where people will snap and do a crime, like a murder, and not remember it at all.
Oh yeah.
I don't think she remembers actually killing her stepmother and father.
That's a little, for me, that's a little hard. It's one thing to say that if she had killed them all at the same time, then I can be like, yeah, she probably did that. But to go in and out of 2 psychotic breaks in the same day.
But who says that she was out of it? Who says she was out of it?
I mean, if she doesn't remember, I mean.
But think of this. She wasn't seen between the time that essentially Abby died to the time that she's getting Bridget to go find the doctor. So that whole time she could have been in a psychotic break.
That is true. That is a good point. We don't actually.
Yeah.
We don't
she
have.
She wasn't seen. She was probably hiding,
or at least
waiting
just
for her father to come home,
or at least just standing there. So now, one thing that will often happen, and this isn't trying to link the two. Women who often are in abusive relationships, when they finally snap at their abusive husbands, they have often been seen. They're like you said, they're in a state of shock and disassociated from what they did. In some cases, they have killed their husband in pretty brutal manners, and then I think I read one thing where she was literally holding the knife, and she's just walking around in a daze in her neighborhood. It wasn't until the cops like, Mrs. Johnson, what are you doing? And she'd be like, what? And then the abuse comes out, and then they find out, oh, Mr. Johnson was beating the crap out of her for years. Yep, that makes sense. So it could be a similar situation where she just, for more malicious purposes, she snapped. Like Pam said, she just stayed in that dissociative state until she kind of heard her father come home, and then came down with the axe and
Well, think about
Yeah.
it. Her father had to knock on the door because the lock was stuck. He forgot his key. Bridget even said the lock wasn't acting right. So she would have heard that to know, hey, Dad's home.
Well, what gets me with the idea that she kind of dissociated is that she later on, what was it, like 2 days later, burnt her dress. So I think even if she didn't know in the moment, she probably realized that she did it.
yeah.
And the thing with the dress is that she burnt it with a friend there.
Yeah.
That's how they found out about the blue dress, is that she had a friend there. And she's like, oh, paint got on
Wow.
it.
Niches.
Paint that just happens to be blood red.
I don't think they ever speculated what color the paint was. I don't think she actually saw the paint.
Mm.
I think she was just told, oh, it's a dress that has paint on it.
From somebody who has never touched a paintbrush in her life.
That's always where
Yeah.
kind of I was like, why are you painting?
So, the poison theory. Though it never made it to court, one enduring thread involves Lizzie's alleged attempt to purchase prussic acid the day before the murders. While the druggist refused to sell it to her and the request is later deemed inadmissible, it has since fueled speculation that Lizzie may have initially planned to poison her parents, perhaps finding the method too slow or ineffective. The leap from poison to hatchet suggests a shift from premeditation to panic, or maybe a psychological break when the slower method failed or time ran out. Some theorists believe Lizzie could have tried to poison them earlier in the week, citing the family's mysterious stomach illness the days before the murder. Was it bad mutton or an early failed attempt at murder? Now, keep in mind, prussic acid has an almond smell, just like normal cyanide. It smells faintly of almonds. Some people can't even smell it.
I've never even smelled almonds.
Yeah,
I've heard it also tastes like almonds.
Yes.
Like people will put almonds in something to cover it up.
Yes. So, it would not have presented as spoiled mutton. So this, to me, this theory goes out the window. It was just bad food.
Yeah.
They ate leftovers. It probably, keep in mind, they had no big amenities. So if they had an ice box, which is what it would have been then, not a fridge, it would have been an ice box. If they're lucky, they had an ice box, and that only held stuff for so long. If Maggie was making a lot of mutton, which, as far as we can tell, that's what they ate a lot, including for breakfast, it eventually would have spoiled. So I don't believe that she attempted to poison them ahead of time. I think that was probably her plan, but it was never sold to her. So there's no way for her to poison. And that stuff, even back then, was highly regulated.
Yeah, I mean,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. It was.
Or the fact that the illness happened gave her the idea to get the poison and have them be like, oh, the illness must have come back.
It could have. But yeah, this stuff was highly regulated back then. Again, it was used in plastic processing, which is kind of funny, the fact that her dad was in textiles. So that kind of, maybe that's how she knows about prussic acid. But it was also used on crops to kill bugs. So it was mixed with other things, but it was used in farming as well. And that's how they know what happens to cows when they eat it. Livestock would get a hold of it and it would asphyxiate the livestock.
It was historically utilized in very diluted forms.
Yes.
For pharmaceutical cough and skin ailment treatment.
Yeah, it's just like, think about today. If we think about, what am I thinking of? The highly toxic drug.
Fentanyl?
No.
Yeah, sorry. Fentanyl. Sorry, my brain's medically mushed today after clinicals. But so fentanyl. Fentanyl is used as a pain reliever. in microdoses. When you're in the medical side, it's a microdose. Like you are getting a micromilligram of fentanyl. And then on the street side, you're getting a milligram. That's a massive difference. That's like size difference that would be a AAA battery compared to a D battery. That's the difference. So yeah, this would have been highly diluted, things like that. So, and again, highly regulated, probably, especially in a town this small, it only would have been sold to like the farmers, who are then taking it, diluting it, and then using it for their crops. So, Bridget, the maid, silent accomplice or killer. Bridget Sullivan remains a compelling figure in the story. In the searing heat of an August morning, she had been ordered to clean windows by a woman she reportedly disliked, Abby Borden. Was that final order the last straw in a life of quiet servitude? One theory suggests Bridget, pushed to her limit, snapped and killed Abby in a moment of rage. The complication came when Andrew returned, forcing her to kill again. Another theory spins Bridget not as a killer, but as a conspirator. Some believe she witnessed the crime, possibly committed by Lizzie, but was bribed into silence, perhaps with money that helped pay her way back to Ireland not long after the trial. Her consistent refusal to speak publicly about the case in later years only deepened that mystery, with some claiming she made a near confession on her deathbed.
I mean,
I don't
I
believe
think
this.
she killed her. I
think she may have wanted to kill her.
I mean, who hasn't wanted to kill their boss at some point or one or the other?
Mhm.
But I think this is just me. This also goes back to where I think Lizzie was not completely as dissociative of what she did, but I think she may have told Bridget may have been told, because if I remember, Bridget was out doing chores.
She was out washing the windows in Massachusetts in the middle of summer when it was hot as hell.
So it's completely possible. And if she never really... Now, did Andrew tell her to do that? Or
No.
Oh, Abby.
Abby did.
Okay, so...
Because it was hot, and if I remember correctly, Bridget wasn't feeling the greatest on that day. And she was still forced to go out in the heat and wash the windows.
So, I think, I mean, at most, I think Bridget may have had a suspicion that something was happening. Because again, Bridget's there. She's, like they said, she's in the background. She's part of, she may not be family, but she knows what they're all doing. She had to know something was coming. And...
Not necessarily.
Well, I don't know. Servants hear and see more than we think. I mean, Hollywood would have us believe either these people, they're either involved in conspiracy or they're just in the background. I think Bridget knew more about what was going on in that household.
Doesn't mean that she would have participated.
Participated, no.
Or conspired.
Probably not conspired, but again, you're going to tell me that the maid is unaware of where the tools are, where, like, I think I remember seeing that there was a hatchet or something that we used for splitting wood and other stuff in the basement or wherever. Suddenly it's gone and what's left is kind of broken.
If I remember right, there's no blood or any...
No,
found
because the handle was broken.
Yeah,
That's
so
where the blood would have been.
Exactly. I think I believe Bridget knew that. I think Bridget figured out Lizzie did it, but two things probably kept her quiet. One, she never saw the actual murder. I mean, and also I think it played into it. It's like, I never really liked these people to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Also, keep in mind, the same hatchet that was used to kill them was the same one that the dad used to kill the pigeons, supposedly.
Yeah.
If that actually happened.
So, Emma Borden. Although Emma, this is the one is so far out there. Although Emma had an alibi visiting friends in Fairhaven, one provocative theory suggests she may have been the mastermind. Proponents argue that Emma's absence was part of a carefully orchestrated plot that allowed her to travel to and from Fall River in secret to commit the crime. This theory hinges on motive. If she feared being cut out of the inheritance in favor of Abby's family and believed Lizzie was too emotionally erratic to carry it out, perhaps she took matters into her own hands. Her long estrangement from Lizzie later in life only added fuel to the theory. Was it guilt, conflict, or the unraveling of a shared secret?
Or they just never really got along and later life happens.
Yeah.
With today's cars and everything, it is about 20 minutes between Fall River and Fairhaven.
Well, I mean, even by carriage, which is probably what she would have taken, it's 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah, there's no way she's getting there.
No, you're gonna, especially with how well known her family is.
Yeah,
they know who they are,
yeah.
even though they're not liked, or at least the dad isn't liked. There are a well-to-do family in a small town where her father employed half the town in his textile factories and things like that. So, not to mention running the only bank in that town. So he was well known, and I'm sure he was quite hated.
Guy who runs the bank.
Yeah. This one's out there too. The William Borden theory. This is perhaps the most sensational theory of all, that Andrew Borden had an illegitimate son named William. Mental instability, rejection, and financial frustration all coalesce in this scenario, where William allegedly tried to extort his father before resorting to violence. Arnold Brown, a local author, popularized this theory, suggesting that Lizzie and others covered for William to protect the family's name and their claim to the inheritance. While critics note the lack of concrete evidence for William's existence or involvement, proponents argue that his mental state, obsession with hatchets, and the sighting of a strange man near the Borden house that morning all suggest a chilling possibility.
Okay.
Keep in mind, Arnold Brown is a fiction author. Just keep that out there.
But there was Lizzie and Emma's uncle from their mom's side was visiting the house the night before everything happened. So that's another theory, is that he waited. He's the one that did it.
So this theory about William Borden is all predicated on that there is an actual William Borden out there, but there's no evidence that he even existed. Andrew. But I'm seeing a big flaw in the theory. It's like, he had a horrible mental state and obsession with hatchets. It's like, okay, well, we don't even know if he existed. So how can you assign a mental attributes to somebody who doesn't even really probably exist?
Yeah, it almost... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You almost wonder if Lizzie maybe talked him into making a book or making a theory about some random guy. You know what I mean?
So, by all accounts, there are no census records, there's no birth records, baptismals, legal claims, mentions in wills, anything to show that this William existed.
And a Christian family in that time, he would have been baptized.
I mean, at the very least, there would have been census records on the mother's side.
Also, he wouldn't be named Borden. If he's illegitimate, by his very definition,
he would have taken the mother's name.
Exactly. So unless we can find some woman that Andrew Borden may have had an affair with, and she had any children, this is the same kind of theory where they think Prince Albert was actually Jack the Ripper because of syphilis. I mean, it's a sensational theory, but it was something born out of fiction.
Yeah. So, an unknown intruder, the least likely scenario?
Very.
Despite the absence of forced entry and the complete lack of robbery, some still argue that a stranger may have committed the crime. Technically, it wouldn't have been a robbery, because it was an occupied dwelling, so it would have been a home invasion. Perhaps it was someone with a personal grudge against Andrew. Many disliked him for his frugality and business dealings. Others suggest that Abby may have been the primary target and Andrew was merely an unfortunate witness. However, for this theory to hold, the killer would have had to wait in the house undetected for over an hour and escape just as silently despite the heavy police and neighborhood presence by late morning. For many, it seems too far-fetched. It is. I mean, we know how long it was. Abby was long dead before her husband came home because the blood coagulated on the ground.
Now, there have been cases in the past, both in the United States and in Europe, where evidence suggests that somebody did break in a while ago and then they waited, and then killed the occupants of the house, and then
Yeah.
for days.
Why was nobody else killed?
Exactly, that's it.
Maggie should have been killed.
Lizzie should have been killed.
Lizzie definitely should have been killed.
Yeah, everybody in that house would have, if it had been that case, would have been dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in that case, Bridget would have been seen. It wouldn't have happened that way because Bridget would have been seen washing windows.
Yes. Bridget probably would have been the first to die.
Also, in the cases I just mentioned that happened, they were in rural, isolated areas where there was nobody. From what I understand, this is in the middle of Fall River.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, while he was frugal, he still had a nice house.
Yeah.
It was still a nice place.
So, from what I've understood from the research that I did, is that Emma and Lizzie wanted to live in the rich neighborhoods. Andrew refused and wanted to stay in the middle income housing. So while it was still nice for a middle income, it wasn't like the rich part of Fall River.
So that is what the house looks like. So it's not a horrible house. I mean, especially for the 1890s, that's a nice
I was gonna
house.
say that's a pretty decent house.
Yeah.
Is there a project behind it? Like a project apartment type of building? I think
Now, yes.
I mean, yeah, that's a nice house.
Yeah.
I would love a house like that. Maybe not that specific house, but
I'd move into there.
of course you would.
Come get me, Lizzie. So perhaps the most enduring legacy of the Borden case is the cultural footprint it left behind. From schoolyard rhymes to Broadway musicals. Yes, that happened. There was a Broadway musical about Lizzie Borden. Lizzie Borden has been recast as everything from an innocent victim of patriarchal suspicion to a feminist antihero who took control in a world that offered her none. Over the years, adaptations have tried to humanize her, villainize her, or sensationalize her. In Shirley Jackson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle, the specter of Lizzie Borden lingers over its reclusive protagonist. The case has inspired operas, films, podcasts, and even horror movies. The Legend of Lizzie Borden 1975 and Lizzie 2018 presented vastly different interpretations, with one adhering closely to historical fact and the other delving into psychological and sexual repression.
If I'm wrong, the Lizzie one was with Christina Ricci started that one, right?
I believe so.
So there is I remember hearing this a while ago. I couldn't really find any documentation about it. Is that Lizzie and Emma were in a incestuous relationship. But I never found any documentation about that. That's what the whole tension was in the family. Why Emma was sent away. Well, why Emma left and didn't come back, and all of that.
No, Ben, it was Chloe Savini played Lizzie Borden. Kristen Stewart played Bridget Sullivan.
Something Christina Ricci did something with Lizzie Borden where it was one of those kind of like it was a sexual thing where I think the premise of it was that Lizzie stripped naked.
Lizzie Borden took an axe.
It's
a docudrama.
Yeah, I saw. She was naked when she killed her family.
Yeah, the Lizzie Borden Chronicles. That's what it is. It was a miniseries in 2015.
It's kind of weird. I never watched it, but
Cole Hauser was in it.
he played.
Charlie Siringo. Yeah. So, and then There's the rhyme, unchanged for generation. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. Though wildly inaccurate, the autopsy found far fewer blows. It immortalizes the act and its accused in a way no court verdict ever could. Ultimately, the Lizzie Borden case remains unresolved. It lingers precisely because it forces us to question what we think we know about motive, evidence, family, and justice. Was Lizzie a cold-blooded killer, a wrongly accused woman caught in a perfect storm of suspicion, or something far more complicated? And as long as the case remains unsolved, the theories will continue, each a reflection not just of the crime, but of the time and culture in which it's being examined. Now, the jury may have rendered its verdict, but the court of public opinion never did. More than 130 years have passed since the brutal double murder on 2nd Street. The house still stands, a modest, stoic witness to an act of horror so deeply ingrained in the American psyche that it has outlived almost every other unsolved crime of its time. Inside its walls, echoes of August 4th, 1892, seem to cling to the floorboards, refusing to be scrubbed away by time or doubt. Lizzie Borden lived out the rest of her life in Fall River, wealthy, isolated, and unwelcome. Though acquitted, she remained a pariah, her name whispered in parlors and printed in scandal sheets. The town never forgave her. Even after she moved to a more fashionable neighborhood and renamed herself Lizbeth, her shadow followed her. And when she died in 1927, keep that in mind, that's crazy.
That's a long.
Yeah.
She lived a long time for back then. Barely anyone attended her funeral. Keep in mind, 1927, she almost made it to World War II.
Yeah.
That's insane. No fanfare, no eulogy, just silence. Yet the story never faded.
Surprised me with this as much as Andrew Borden was generally disliked. I mean, he had some friends in Fall River society, and Abby wasn't like horrible from what I could tell. They always seemed like, how could Lizzie do that? It's like, you guys hated this guy. Why do you care?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every generation has rediscovered the Borden murders and claimed them as its own. In the 1940s, it was reimagined through ballet. In the 1960s, opera. In the 1970s and beyond, made-for-TV dramatizations, books, reenactments, and true crime retrospectives began dissecting her motives, body language, and courtroom demeanor all over again. And in recent years, Lizzie has found new life in podcasts such as Scarlet Tavern.
Yeah.
Everywhere you get your podcast every Tuesday. Psychological thrillers, queer reinterpretations, and online forums where armchair detectives still debate over bloody hatchets, and burned dresses. Why does her story remain so potent? Perhaps because it defies neat conclusions. It teases us with just enough detail to build a case and just enough uncertainty to unravel it. Lizzie Borden sits at the crossroads of America's shifting view of femininity, justice, and violence. Her case invites us to ask uncomfortable questions. What does guilt look like? What does innocence feel like? And how much of what we believe is shaped not by fact, but by fear or fantasy? There's a cultural thrill in imagining the young Sunday school teacher with a hatchet in her hand. But there's also discomfort in the alternative, that a woman may have been accused, hounded, and isolated for a crime she didn't commit, simply because she didn't cry the right way or act as society expected her to. The nursery rhyme endures, brutal in its simplicity, catchy in its cadence. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. Typo been missed. A rhyme passed from child to child, oblivious to its origin in blood and trauma. It's no longer just folklore, it's a legacy. One that's been carved into pop culture with the same force as those blows to the Borden skulls. Currently, guests are staying at the Borden house. They tour the rooms, rest in the beds, and examine the mirrors, seeking not only evidence of paranormal activity, but also striving for insight, clarity, and closure. But the Borden murders offer none. And maybe that's why the story still haunts us. Not just because of what happened, but because we'll never be entirely sure why or by whom. So, we're left with a legend that won't die, a mystery that refuses to fade, a name, Lizzie Borden, that still cuts like a blade across the pages of American crime history. And in the end, maybe that's what she wanted all along.
I mean, so what does everybody think happened?
She did.
Oh, of course she did it.
I think it's quite possible that not only did she do it, but she counted on the historic infantilization of women in the time period.
Yeah.
Hey,
Repeat that. We
you're a
couldn't
wo-
hear you.
You're a woman.
Yeah.
You're not strong enough to do this.
Yeah.
Definitely women were killers and had been convicted and even hanged in the state of Massachusetts. But that was for poisoning, maybe a gunshot, but not taking a hatchet and killing
Yeah.
her. Like, this is
Yeah.
brutal. Now, again, I think she did it, and I also don't. I think it's easy. I think there's a few of these theories all kind of play into it. You know, could she have been abused? Yeah, it's very possible. Andrew was not a nice person. He was not even considered a good father. So it's entirely possible, at the very least, there was a physical abuse of his daughters. And considering the fact that they by all accounts, went against him very often enough, there could have been tension there. I'm not saying he was whipping them with a belt every other day growing up,
Maybe he should have.
Well, it may have been enough that it caused a resentment, especially if he married, someone who was not their mother.
Especially like 3 years after the death of the mom.
Exactly. I
Mhm.
mean,
I've seen people get married sooner, but
Yeah.
And then, of course, I think a lot of the time, and that's one aspect. I think another aspect was the fact that Andrew is very frugal and he just does not want to live extravagantly. And he just assumed that everybody else is like, well, I run the household, so this is how we're going to do it. He doesn't care that his daughters don't agree with that. They want to live in a nice house. They want to live amongst their rich friends. They want to have nice things. And Andrew was more than capable of doing it. I mean, let's face it. This is Fall River, not Boston. It's not New York. There's very little. They're not spending a lot of money in Fall River. So it was very possible for him to give them what they wanted, and it would have been fine. But he wouldn't do that because, fuck you. That's kind of what I get the vibe from. Is why did he do this? Because fuck you. I want to do this. I want to keep my money. And finally, Lizzie just snapped. She, like Pam said, she just finally had enough. I think she was going to try and poison him initially. She was going to get that poison. She was going to slip it into the meal, and that was going to be the end of it. They were going to die horrible deaths. It would have been quick over. Something was bad in the stew. Dad had a habit of just eating the same crap all the time.
Keep in mind that guess who would have been blamed?
Bridget.
Because
Mhm.
she's the one that prepares the food.
Yeah.
And she's an Irish nobody.
Yep.
Exactly.
Back then, she not only was she a woman, but she was Irish.
I would not be surprised also if some of that property of Abby's was missing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me because, again, what did the cops not do? They probably did not take a proper inventory of everything.
That
in that
wasn't
house.
a thing then.
No, it wasn't. And they would have never.
You didn't inventory anything. Obviously, they had no way to. I mean, pictures existed, but not like we know them.
Or I would have found looked for jewelry if Abby had anything of value.
Yeah.
I think Lizzie probably, because going back to it, didn't they say Bridget heard laughter?
Yeah. I believe that Lizzie killed Abby and then did that little creepy ghost chuckle afterwards.
Yeah.
Realizing the scope of what the hell she just did, probably stayed in that room for
And
a while.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, probably
Mhm.
just a catharsis of releasing all that hatred.
Yeah.
She probably didn't even and Bridget again, she's like, oh, these bleeding Spartans, we gotta, and just whatever, goes about her chores, doesn't even think to bother them.
from all accounts, to people say that stay in the house, that you can hear Lizzie Borden laughing like that.
Mm.
We
Yeah,
would have to go there ourselves.
We need
I was
to
going to
do
say
it.
maybe we should take a field trip.
we need to.
Field trip
You
We need to.
fun. I'm staying home.
We need to do it.
with the dog and the chickens.
I'll stay home
Um,
with the dog and the chickens.
So
But I think Lizzie did it, and I think it was just she.
You're just
finally-
not allowed to go to Boston without me.
Okay.
she just have to come then.
She just snapped, and then it was a combination of snapping and planning.
I think she had a mental break. I think that she had some type of psychosis. But
But the thing that puts a little cramp in that theory, in my opinion, is the attempt to buy the poison. What was the point?
The thing is,
I mean, it could, again, if she has split personality, it could have been the other personalities.
yeah.
I mean, we won't know unless we dug into her fucking brain, which is now gone.
Yeah.
It's also with that, like the poison. It could have been just be like, okay, this is the fastest, easiest way to do it, and the least messy.
Mm.
Well, that didn't work, and it could have been something happened within that day between the trying to buy the acid and the actual murder that she just snapped.
Oh, I agree. I 100% agree. I just don't. I think again, going back, I think there's not one theory in of itself doesn't fit it. I think it's a little bit of everything.
It's the
Yeah.
poison for Andrew. The poison
Honestly-
specifically designed to kill Andrew. Andrew's poison.
I definitely think she was mad about the birds,
Yeah.
especially to use the same hatchet.
Yeah, bird is the word.
But in the end, I mean, yeah, I think she did it, and I think if this crime had been committed, I would even go so far as to say 20 years after this date.
If the crime had been committed the year she died, she would have
Done.
been done.
Because
Yeah.
at that point there had been plenty of lady killers out there
Yeah.
who had done similar gruesome crimes. The taboo of women can't do these type of crimes with long.
I mean, how women were starting to join the military at this point in lesser roles, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But yeah, so I will say before I do the teaser for the next one, at the time of recording this is May 4th. So first of all, happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
be with you.
But it's also a not so great day, as on this day in 1970 in Ohio, the Ohio National Guard opened fire at Kent State University,
Mm.
wounding and killing several people. Today is the anniversary of the Kent State shootings. Not
Did not
too
know
far
that.
from us. And so today is the 56th anniversary of the Kent State shootings. So it's definitely a topic we'll touch on. It reminded me, it clicked because of what we're going to be talking about soon, but Kent State shootings is definitely a topic we'll probably touch on next season, because it's very interesting.
Do it around the same time frame.
Yeah, we can do it. Hit the anniversary for it.
I know we were gonna try to do some of these topics on
Yeah, the anniversaries and
the
stuff.
Anniversaries and stuff.
So-
we're gonna be doing
Definitely very. It's definitely a very interesting topic, but imagine a quiet mountainside cabin in northern Idaho, a family living off the grid. Then, in a matter of days in August 1992, a routine warrant service spiraled into an 11-day armed standoff. By the end, 3 people lie dead. A 14-year-old boy, his mother holding an infant, and a federal marshal. Correct. The incident draws in the U.S. Marshal Service, the FBI's elite hostage rescue team, and leads to a high-profile federal trial, Senate hearings, and civil settlements. So, thank you for joining us tonight in the Scarlet Tavern. Where the candles burn low, the stories burn deep, and the truth is always one drink away. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.